All right, hi. This is our very first episode of our Star Wars podcast. Typically, Star Wars reactionary episodes of the Disney Plus shows. My name is Bob,
My name is Nolan.
and we hope to, share with you our thoughts and what we like, and hopefully not too much dislike about various episodes coming up. And so with Book of Boba Fett coming up in a couple weeks, we wanted to do just a kind of an introductory podcast where we introduce ourselves and just talk a little bit about Star Wars so you can kind of get the vibe of what to expect going forward with Book of Boba Fett. So with that, we're going to start talking about everybody's kind of seen or should have seen by now, the trailer for Boba Fett. And Nolan, what were your general reactions to that?
I think it's interesting to have a TV show that really goes into the depth of the underground world of the Star Wars universe, kind of like how The Mandalorian and Solo did, but really focusing more on centering around a bounty hunter, which we haven't really seen in a long time.
What about the end of Solo with the whole Crimson Dawn tease? What would you have liked to have seen, more of?
I really would have liked it to focus more on her and her transform into being this really bad person, but the movie just kind of ended, and I think it's good that we don't have a 4-hour-long movie, but it would have been more interesting to see more of that character arc.
See, I'm a big supporter of us with Disney Plus now. Have a Solo season, where you can go and deal with that. We don't need another $150 million budget, fiasco, 2-hour movie or whatever of it. But now do like an 8 episode, 6 episode, 10 episodes could be really cool to really delve into that. And I think that, as you were alluding to a bit ago, maybe a lot of what we would be excited about with that, we kind of got some of that in Mandalorian, and now with Boba Fett a little bit.
There are some books in the past that have explored more of a situation with Han Solo in his younger days, and I think if we're doing a season-long story about that, we could just adapt a couple of the books to fit a screenplay.
You're right. There was a Timothy Zahn book, the guy who did all of the Admiral Thrawn. He created Thrawn. He created Mara Jade Skywalker and all of that. When there was no more Star Wars anymore, he was the one who kind of kept it going until they had the prequels. But there was a book written, in the last 10 years or so called Scoundrels, which you were alluding to. A youngish, Harrison and Han and Lando, and they do an Ocean's 11 type ripoff of a casino, and that would just be awesome. So I think that with Disney Plus, we get a lot of opportunities to explore, and especially with the technology that they have to utilize the, in the round type video production, it should make it a lot more affordable, I think. So some of our reactions to the trailer, you mentioned the underground was cool. I love just the opening shot of the exterior of Jabba's, and you saw one of those spiders with the brain in the casing. Those are I can't remember the first name, but they were considered monks who used to. That was a monastery before Jabba took over. And one of the books, Tales from Jabba's palace, that type of thing. Bib Fortuna actually has a story where his brain gets encased in one of those things. So it's obviously not canon, but that's why we see the spider click around in Return of the Jedi, when Luke shows up or the droids show up. So I really like that callback. What did you think about the him ruling as kind of a warlord?
I think it's really interesting to see the power shift from Jabba, and then in his absence to Bib Fortuna, and then finally being taken over by a character that the community really loves. And I think, like how I said earlier, going deep into that and exploring that, I think, is a good idea from Disney's part.
Yeah, and Jabba was a gangster. He still had people hanging around his palace, right? We remember that in Jedi and everything. But to see him him being Boba, want to rule with, what did he say, respect? And it's going to be really interesting. It's almost like he's bringing together the heads of all the various households and sitting on that, that's not a round table, but sitting around the table talking, similar to Godfather, where they bring all the heads of the families together, or maybe it'll end like Godfather does when Michael takes over and while he's baptizing his godson, they take care of all of the enemies. So it's really going to be fascinating, I think, because I'm curious, do you think it's just going to stay on Tatooine and it's about him establishing this power?
I really think it's going to. I think throughout the series, we're going to see him sort of move into the power and probably come up with some sort of plan. I don't know what that would necessarily be, but addressing all of these big, powerful people and bringing them all together to unite them.
Do you think it's going to be easy for him, or do you think it's going to be like a free-for-all? And see, here's my thing. And this was a lot of the expanded universe with the books. When the Emperor died, the Empire wasn't done. There were still Moffs around the various sectors of the galaxy who were striving for control. Again, not necessarily, well, it's not canon anymore since Disney bought it, but there was a lot of upheaval and power grabs. And if Jabba is gone, and this is in the middle of Huttese space, and he's a famous warlord, are other people going to be fighting, or do they want peace? Do they want prosperity? I don't know.
I think there is going to be a big struggle for the power, and I think that's what the whole show is going to be focused around, based on how he can react to all of these super powerful gangsters coming together and just, like you said, power grabbing.
Now, do you think that, see, the Boba that we want and love, we didn't get to see that too much in the movies. He was always walking around, right? We saw him fight the one time before he went shrieking into the Sarlacc, right? And that's all we had until Mandalorian, until he showed up. So I would like to see more of that action from Boba, and not so much being the boss sitting behind the table. And so the trailer got me kind of worried that it's going to be a lot of more just administrative. However, towards the end of the trailer, we got to see him go barbarian and fight, and I really dug that a lot. What about you?
I think being the boss is what makes his character so mysterious and enjoyable, but seeing that fighting really bounty hunter style that we've been waiting for is beneficial to this show.
Yeah, I think if you can't tell, we're pretty excited about this show. I love the aesthetics of it, the quality, seeing those spaceport shots and city shots, because they make you think that Tatooine is all desolate and not a lot of cities. But you saw a city there that probably had over 1 million people in it, and how do they survive? What's that like? I'm really curious. And one of the things I loved about Mandalorian is just little allusions that they had to the original movies. One of the first episodes, Mando's walking around before he even has Baby Yoda, and we see one of those Kowakian monkey lizards. Salacious B. Crumb type characters on a spit being roasted, and other ones in a cage just waiting. Just little things like that. Have you given any thought to what sort of, whether you want to call them cameos or allusions or shout outs to the movie that you would like? Any of the movies?
I think a lot of the allusions have been taken up by The Mandalorian so far. I don't think there's that much to pick out of the movies, but I really hope that they bring up some of the old bounty hunters that were seen in the original trilogy, like Bosk.
Bosk would be great, right? Bosk would be great. I wonder. Here's my Danger would be good. Dengar, the one with the head wrap. I don't think I'd get too excited for Forlom or Zuckuss, or IG-88. We kind of got IG out of our system with, IG-11 in Mando. But it's going to be really interesting, and I'm really hoping. Okay, and here's a stretch. Do you remember in Phantom Menace, little Anakin's friend, Kitster? I would love for Kitster to show up.
Why?
'Cause I don't know, to see what he's doing. He got left behind. He was a good friend of Anakin. Was he thinking about Anakin when he was gone? Did Anakin, with his downfall and death, or his heroics in Clone Wars, did Kitster follow that at all? Or did he survive on his own? I'd really be, because think about how much older he'd be now. He'd be an adult character. I just think it'd be a cool shout out. I'd love to see Watto again. I don't know if we're just going to stick where Jabba is around Mos Eisley. I don't know if we're gonna move around to Mos Espa or Anchorhead or Tashi Station or wherever else. I'm just yeah. You know what? You were right with Mando was when they went to Tatooine. We got the cantina. You got the speeders, the dewbacks. We got the some Jawas, right? We got a lot of everything. The Sand People, the Tuscans, and so there isn't maybe a lot of the aesthetics that we've come to love in the movies. However, those little small nuggets would be cool. Maybe a quick pod racing thing again, or I don't know, just something.
Like how in Mandalorian, how they focused on multiple episodes inside of Tatooine, with like in season 2 with not the Ewoks, the what are they called? You just said it.
The Tuscans,
The Jawas.
the Jawas.
And going after the big Mudhorn egg, I think focusing multiple episodes of a new show that people have been waiting like a year-ish to see, I don't think that would be really interesting, as it's really been done a lot before.
And I'm not quite sure how many episodes. Mando is what, 8 episodes usually? Let's just say we'll be lucky 6, 7, 8. We can't really spend 2 on just one little thing. I think they got to hit the ground running. And that kind of leads us into what our expectations are. One of the things that I was so excited about with Mandalorian is when he showed up again. And then we'll talk about it later, but when he got his armor and we got to see him fight. And that was the first time we ever got to see Boba Fett fight like you in your dreams or expectations, what you want him to be. It's like at the end of Rogue One when you see Vader fighting, all those rebels in that last shot. And he's using the Force and he's fighting like Vader, like you would always wanted to see, but you never did, And so going forward with it, I just really want to see more of Boba kind of fulfilling the expectations that everybody might have had of him, and see where it goes from there. So with that, what we want to talk about first, I guess, is some of our favorite Mandalorian moments for a little bit. Favorite episodes, favorite moments. I think Nolan and I both agree on our least favorite episode, which was on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
The
Frog
frog
Lady.
line.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's ironic is it sandwiches, or it's right in the middle of 2 fantastic episodes. So we just want to talk about what we loved about Mandalorian, what we love about Star Wars. Do you remember when you kind of liked Star Wars?
I think I just grew up and realized that you actually wanted me to see this, and I think it was something that was interesting to me, the whole space aspect with a bunch of storylines and books and characters and movies and shows, and it's just a big universe.
It's a big universe. So can you recall when it happened that it was not so much somebody else really liked it and wanted you exposed to it, but that, I kind of have an interest on my own of this? Do you kind of remember when that was?
I think it would have been around, I think it was 2018 when Force Awakens came out. I think when I saw that, they were really trying to appeal an old series, old-ish, from the 70s to a new audience, making it more modern. So I think just seeing that just really awoke something in me.
Awaken. And it was 2015, by the way, but no one's keeping track.
Well,
and that's fine.
Whatever.
So it was Force Awakens. And it's funny because growing up when I was a kid, I had some of the action figures, and I watched the movies, and they were fine, and I enjoyed them. But it wasn't until they came out with the prequels in the late 90s, and they re-released all of the older movies in the theater, and it was the marketing for Phantom Menace with Darth Maul that really was like, this dude looks amazing. And so I want to know more about this. And so finally getting to see the movies in the theater, it just really was amazing. And then got the prequels, and I got into the books and the comics, Dark Horse comics, and it just became an obsession to some degree. But definitely Mandalorian, as much joy as Mandalorian, especially season 2 was for me, I'd rather have a great season of Mandalorian than just wait 3 years for 1 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with the time period between the movies, it is better to come out with a bunch of new series like they have been. Like with the Bad Batch, I was really, after watching season 7 of the Clone Wars, everybody was asking them to make a series about this, and then they did. They really pumped it out in like less than a year, and it was a really captivating series.
And it was all new
Yeah.
characters for the most part, Yeah, they're clones, but they had their own personalities. And that's what I liked about Mando is there wasn't a ton of lightsaber play throughout. It was so it was still Star Warsy, but it wasn't crazy. It's like Rogue One. To me, Rogue One is a great war movie. It's barely Star Wars. Yeah, they got to go light speed, and yes, there's a Death Star, and yes, Vader shows up a few times. But other than that, it's just a war movie where they're trying to grab some MacGuffin for the movie, the Death Star plans. And so I just like how Star Wars can be enjoyable for the fans, and hopefully, especially with Mando being up for Emmys and winning Emmys, but being up for Best Drama 2 years in a row. That's the award that Sopranos has been up for, and West Wing won all those years, and Breaking Bad and Mad Men. Mando is in that same category with those, and that just blows my mind. And I love that it's being universally accepted like that. So I dig that a lot.
I think some of what makes Mandalorian so popular is it focuses, like how you said, with less lightsaber play. It focuses heavily on the gunslinger Old West style that was influencing Star Wars, and it really drew that out over a series and brought in new characters and new methods to get stuff, and it was just a new experience.
Yeah, I love the Mando, all new characters for the most part, other than Boba showing up, right? Who was your favorite character from the new Mando show?
Oof, that's a tough one. I have to say Bill Burr's character.
Stole
your answer.
That's my answer.
I don't remember. Oh, Mayfeld.
Yeah, Miggs Mayfeld.
Yeah.
What do you like about him?
I think he added a nice dynamic to it as being sort of the jerk, but then they bring him back in season 2 and he's helping them, and you get to see this hatred of the Empire backstory, and bring him in with this great monologue, and ends up messing up the whole plan, which I just think is a great addition.
That was a moment that blew me away as well. Character, he was good. He only shows up twice. Gosh, Mando's great. Obviously, Baby Yoda, everybody loves. Grogu, right? And he was cute. Miggs Mayfeld was up there. Cara Dune, I thought, was pretty solid. I'd seen her in a few movies. She starred in a action movie called Haywire, and then had a bit part in like a Fast and the Furious 6 or 7, 6 I think, 6, and so she was good. I enjoyed her. I thought there were a couple of little acting here or there, but I thought she was pretty electric, and they were good together. So I really like those people in there. But I dug the cameos, the people that showed up, like the Miggs Mayfield. When Timothy Oliphant showed up in the premiere, the Marshal, the premiere of the second season when they battled the Crate Dragon. He's a favorite actor of mine from Deadwood, and Justified. He's really fantastic, and he was just perfect for that role. I loved him in that one. So those are a couple of my favorites. What about your favorite episodes, would you say, of Mandalorian?
The Crate Dragon episode, the first one of season 8.
Season 2.
Season 2.
That's all right.
Well,
you're a little ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
That's fine.
In season 1, I'd probably have to say the last episode, I think. It set up the second season perfectly. Yeah.
What happened in that episode to set it up? Do you remember? No. Yeah, you do.
Sort of.
It was where IG-11 kills himself, sacrifices on the lava river.
Oh,
and,
yes,
yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think that it was amazing to bring back the Darksaber, I think it was.
Oh, that was
It's just a great conclusion to an already great show.
I thought so too. And then you finally see Mando take his helmet off, and no living thing has seen me, and then IG-11 goes, I'm not living, and sacrifices himself, and that was fantastic. That's a really good one. You said Crate Dragon, the end of the first season. Any others?
Third episode of the second season, which was right after the horrendous Frog Lady episode, I think. That was great because it brought back Bo-Katan and a bunch of other Mandalorians, and you see that he's not the only one left. And
is that the notorious Baby Yoda eating the eggs?
Yes.
Is that episode?
Yeah, it's that one.
So, yeah, that was the one where they go out on the ship, right?
Yes.
And, yeah, you get to see, it's really kind of connecting from the Clone Wars with Bo-Katan and some of Death Watch type people, right? Coming together. So I like how it merged those two types of shows together. The Crate Dragon episode, I remember just having, second season, first episode, just left my jaw hanging. It was just, visually was amazing. I always wondered what a Crate Dragon would look like. The only the only allusion to it was we would see the carcass or the bones, in the very, 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 very first episode. The Crate Dragon, so that was really cool, and then it had Timothy Olyphant in it. My favorite episode overall is the one you alluded to a bit ago, was the Bill Burr episode in season 2, where they go and it's called The Believer. Yeah, and I can watch that so many times, and how he did not get nominated for an Emmy for guest star, I have no idea. They gave one to Giancarlo Esposito, who, yeah, he did a good job, but this one moment was just fantastic. What plays out in short summation is Miggs is sitting there and they're undercover, and they're sitting across the table from his former commander when he was in the Empire, and the commander is talking about Operation Cinder and how they lost 10,000 men, and you see Miggs just losing his mind about how casual this former guy, Valen Hess, I think, or Valen or something, Valen Hess, and what a great actor he was too. And there's just so much tension and so much, oh my gosh, Miggs is losing his mind here, but he's so calm because they're in the middle of this compound of bad guys. And Mando has his helmet off, and he keeps calling him Brown Eyes, Brown Eyes. They're just sitting there, and then there's this moment, and if you can pause this, cue it up, they're just looking, and Miggs just looks over at Mando, and he's just almost like shaking his head no, very, very small, imperceptible. And then Miggs just like, screw it, and he shoots the guy, and it's silent, and nobody can believe it. I love that moment. So that, to me, is my favorite episode, and almost favorite moment. But I think I have to go with the very last scene we've seen in Mando so far, is when Grogu is rescued and Luke Skywalker shows up. And if you can recall, I stood up applauding and I was tearing up. And to see that green lightsaber that glows so, so brilliantly, just like it did on Jabba's sail barge, in Jedi. And it was, oh my gosh, it was just heavenly. And to watch him fight and move around like that, and it looked like him, that to me, those are my favorite moments.
This also leads me to something else. Since Grogu is no longer in the storyline of The Mandalorian, do you think now The Mandalorian is going to move to the Book of Boba Fett in awaiting for the next season, or what do you think is just going to happen in the season 3?
In season 3 of Mando?
Yes.
We have so much Star Wars to discover between now and then. We're going to have however many episodes of Boba. We got Obi-Wan showing up in his show. Now, with Obi-Wan, this isn't the same time frame, because right now at Book of Boba Fett, it's between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens is where we're at in the timeline. So with the new what's his name, Obi-Wan, with the new Kenobi, that's going back to before a New Hope, and so it's not quite the same. But then we got an Andor series coming, which is right around that same time as Kenobi, probably a little bit after, I would imagine. But then we still got Ahsoka thing coming, and they haven't even talked about Mando yet. Those are all of the things in the pipeline before we get Mando. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. There's no Grogu, so I'm kind of excited because they can kind of rebirth this franchise in whatever direction they want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there is no, there's no feeling like you have to fan service them. And I don't want them to go and find another orphaned something for him to do.
They have to move past that and realize, what do they want from this show? Is it going to continue to be sort of drama with a little bit of, cuteness with Baby Yoda? And is he going to continue being this savior or this really awesome gunslinger who goes and does all these awesome adventures? I think we'll just have to wait and see for that.
I agree. Yeah. And I can't wait to see it. And they had some great episodes, even when he was toting around Grogu, and it would be nice. You kept getting pulled back. Oh, he's cute. But something awesome's happening. A big crate dragon's here. But he brought this child with him. So this could have been a great scene. That child did nothing for that episode. We didn't need him. And so I think that is good for future. It's very positive for future episodes of Mando that it can be successful. Do you think he's going to go around with his helmet off more?
I think he will now. No, I don't think he will. Just because he broke the oath, he can still wear the helmet because there are no Mandalorians that so far are going to be checking up on him. And nobody really knows that he took his helmet off besides Baby Yoda and Mayfeld, but I don't think he's telling anybody. And they killed pretty much everybody else who did.
Yeah, but Cara Dune and Bo-Katan and all those people when Luke showed up because he took his helmet off for Grogu, right? And I'm curious about what's going to happen with him in Mandalore because he has the Darksaber. And he tried giving it to Bo-Katan and she didn't take it because it's got to be won, not given, right? It's got to be earned. So do you foresee any maybe reconnecting with Mandalore or any of that?
I think that's definitely an interesting idea that they could explore, but I think they're going to continue with, the gunslinger adventures, and I think at some point he's going to have to step in as some sort of leader form with the Darksaber, and that's where I'm guessing the story's going to go. And
to bring it back to the point of this podcast, is the book of Boba Fett. Boba Fett is Mandalorian as well, right? Yes, he's Kaminoan, but Jango Fett, was from Conqueror Dawn, which is, geeked out there for a moment, Expanded Universe, or the Bounty Hunter PS2 game. You find out how he gets recruited to be the chromosome donor or whatever for the clones. I'm curious if there's going to be anything with Boba Fett, or maybe that's just too far down the road. Right now, he has to get set up on Tatooine. Yeah. I don't know. And the thing with the books and stuff, there was a lot more presence of him where he was the ruler of Mandalore for a bit, and the Empire got so angry at him that, and they had his genetics on file, that in one of the stories they launched pretty much a toxic chemical weapon into the atmosphere of Mandalore that went down, and any genetics of Boba Fett would be dead by this biological weapon. How crazy is that? And sick. So he couldn't go home, and then he was left to wander around. And that's where I know Boba from the books. And in one of the older books with Jaina Solo, he helps train her so she can kill her Sith Lord brother Jason. And this isn't canon anymore, but you really get into the culture of what it was to be Mandalore, which is why I loved Bo-Katan and all the Death Watch people, because it started to make those connections that I spent so many years reading about and looking forward to seeing that visually.
I think exploring the books is an amazing idea for the storyline of The Mandalorian and how the Mandalorians have affected things like the Clone Wars and just clones themselves, I think, with their kind of culture, or as he puts it, a creed. I think that is very amazing.
Yeah, totally. And so I think we're looking forward to that. We recapped some of our great moments that we really enjoy. There were so many just visual moments. I think, the Luke coming to rescue, I think that was just awesome just as a fan. But action-wise, when Boba emerges in his in his armor again, and just goes nuts on all those troopers, and he shoots that missile to blow up the transport, and he turns around and does that hero walk while the explosion happens behind him, was just unreal. So excited to see. You like that one as well? Yeah. I want to see more of that, and that's why I want to see the action with him. And we've got to know how he got out of the Sarlacc. And this is kind of what we'll wrap up on is with our ideas about what's going to come. That has to be one of the storylines pretty early, right?
I'd say like the start of the first episode, it's just going to be this like flashes of how he does it, and before it moves into the actual story. And I think we'll see the current storyline that's going to happen in the show with the whole underground situation and leading the Hutts, or at least in Jabba Hutt's place.
Yeah.
I think it will understand how he got there and out of it throughout the series.
I really like your idea. I was thinking we'd find out later, but I think that's the way they should jumpstart the series. Just opening credits, Lucasfilm, right? And then you just show the Sarlacc, however he gets out, however he gets found, because don't you think that the Sand People have to stumble upon him?
Yeah, we've seen the Sand People in so many shows at this point with no real, like, they haven't prevailed and done anything important besides in, like, the first episode of the second season of Mandalorian. But having them do this huge beneficial thing that's on Tatooine, it would make a lot of sense to have them save him.
Yeah, see, because he carries around that gaffy stick, right? The stick. But then we also find out, in that Marshall episode that you mentioned, Boba's armor shows up on a Jawa sandcrawler. So there's got to be there's something that happens. How does he escape the Sarlacc? How do they get the armor off Boba? Does Boba crawl out, pass out, and then they find him and just take his armor and leave him to die, and then the Tuskens find him? But whatever. I going back to how you say to start it, I would show how he at least gets saved. And then it gets into the whatever the music, that's Mando, but whatever Boba is, and then you can see the credits for Book of Boba. I think that's fantastic because in one of the teasers, I think we see him in Bacta, and so that might be a connection to an early episode. But I think I really dig your idea of how that starts off. That's how I would start it until I hear a better idea, but that's pretty solid. Any last things you want to mention?
I guess adding on just to what you said, I think Bacta is really expensive, and only certain organizations can buy it. So it really makes you wonder who actually found him. Because I don't think Tusken Raiders are purchasing a lot of Bacta.
I don't think Jawas either. Oh, I like this. So then who would have him? Especially on Tatooine? So the Empire?
Or the Republic.
Because he was in the employ of the Empire. To hunt down. Oh, that's intriguing. I like that idea. So it's our future episodes. We're going to watch the episode and then just talk about it. Things we liked. Again, things we hopefully didn't dislike. Connecting it to Mando. I'll try to connect it to Expanded Universe just for the geeks that listen. And have a good time. We're gonna have an email address up and running. So if you ever have any comments or questions that we can answer at the end of the episode, we will give you our somewhat limited / experienced expertise, depending on what you ask. We may or may not know, but we will give you an honest answer. But just hope this gives you a good listen while you're driving or walking or whatever, and put you in the world of Star Wars. So until next time, this is Bob, and this is
Nolan. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Thank you very much. Take care.